Hey guys, Peter, healthforpostnatalbody.com and the Health for Postnatal Body podcast. This week I thought I would do something slightly different. I thought I would do a too long didn't read version of the podcast simply because the last episode of the podcast was all one study where I just dived into one study to do with health at every size and all that sort of stuff. It was a study, like I explained, it was emailed to me by and Health at Every Size advocate. I thought I should read this during this whole criticizing a certain British-based doctor. Let me put it that way, right? So the study was called Weight Science, Evaluating the Evidence for a Paradigm Shift. Link will be in the description, of course. Written by Dr. Linda, now Lindo Bacon, and Lucy Aframore, who's a dietitian, I believe. For anyone familiar with them, you know, they're pretty hardcore advocates of health at every size. So I have to bear that in mind a little bit. I'll just take you through a very brief takeaways that I think we should all, that people should on both sides can take away from this paper. So whether you're a health at every size advocate or whether you think that it's all a bunch of hoo-ha, I think the paper is fairly well written. It has loads of citations in it. But it's not always being interpreted in the way that I think the authors actually intended it to be interpreted. And some of the claims being made off the back of this paper, not by the authors, but by people who have supposedly read the paper, are not really accurate. So point one, I'll just take you through 5 quick points. Point one, they advocate that the medical community should not jump to any conclusions as to what's actually causing someone's illness. I think we can all kind of agree on that, right? I mean, if you're walking into the doctor's office with knee pain, it shouldn't just be assumed if you're obese that it's caused by your obesity. There might be a piece of cartilage and all that sort of stuff in there. I think all that sort of stuff just makes sense to me. As they feel that the current focus on weight before health, as they see it as weight before health, is counterproductive. I would almost argue that they are right on that. I think the paper certainly makes a fairly convincing case for that, for at least overweight / moderately obese people. Point two, when quoting studies about dieting, they are referring every single thing in this study, in this paper, refers to short-term weight loss. So the statistics that people often throw out there, which again, they use in this paper, 95% of all diets lead to people regaining the weight and then some. That only goes for crash dieting. Short-term weight loss is crash dieting. That's what they're talking about when they use the study to back this up. So they're not talking really about, they're not saying that anybody trying to lose weight will fail. They're just saying if you lose it by crash dieting, you are likely to regain the weight. Now we know this is kind of true. Obviously, those of us in the health and fitness community have said this for a long time. Crash dieting is not the way to go. Another statement, weight cycling is detrimental to your health, leading to inflammation and all that sort of stuff. That again, that also refers to crash dieting and rapid weight regain in quite a few cases, according to the particular study they cited. Right? When it comes to dieters, they essentially only list issues for crash dieters and chronic dieters. It's important to remember that there's no study cited in this paper that comes to a negative conclusion about like long-term steady weight loss achieved through healthier eating. You know, obviously the reason for this is, it's rather obvious. Healthier eating is not necessarily negative. And if you lose weight because of that, then that is just the way it is. Point 3, any statements regarding obese, fat, overweight people not being unhealthier than straight-sized people actually refers to overweight / moderately obese people. None of the studies, they say, and the authors also don't argue this, by the way, refer to clinically obese, morbidly obese, and thinny fats or deaf fat, whatever you want to call it. So, all this, you can be as healthy as a straight-sized person, does not actually go for someone who is 40 kg overweight. The authors don't claim this, but it's a takeaway a lot of people seem to have taken away from this. Statements like, that they do make in this study, most epidemiological studies find that people who are overweight or moderately obese live at least as long as normal weight people and often longer. This is as in the section about morbidity. should have been caveated with the statement that the study actually says that the impact of obesity on mortality may have decreased over time, perhaps because of improvements in public health and medical care. These findings are consistent with the increases in life expectancy in the United States and the declining mortality rate from ischemic heart disease. So the authors actually of the study that they cite say that it is likely that this has been people obese, moderately obese and overweight people not passing away sooner, not dying sooner, having the same life expectancy or maybe a bit longer, is predominantly due to the high level of medical care that we have now. Not because there is an implied health associated with them. I think that caveat should have been in there. But even then, the authors of this particular study only refer to overweight/moderately obese. They never say that you will live till 83, 90, or 100 when you're a 7XL, right? Point 4, and this is an interesting one because a lot of people seem to get this slightly wrong. When they are talking about intuitive eating, they do find and link to studies that show intuitive eating is associated with lower body mass. In fact, they don't just link to one study, they link to 4. So they clearly find this very important and an important point to make. This means that the authors would even agree that for those on the heavier side of being overweight and obese, intuitive eating would lead to weight loss and thereby an improvement in health. Now, that doesn't mean they're advocating intuitive eating as a tool for weight loss, but it's like a happy accident. Your health improves and your weight drops, and that means your health improves even more. The authors don't at any stage argue that being morbidly obese is healthy. Right? Just that everybody should be treated with respect. And I hope that, well, I would rather hope that that would be obvious, but it's not. I agree that that's not necessarily the case. But again, they don't argue that being morbidly obese is healthy or that you can be healthy when you're morbidly obese. Even the authors and all the studies they cite state very clearly that there are health consequences to being severely obese. Point 5, and this was an interesting one for me, when the authors talk about exercise, they don't call it exercise. They talk about building activity in their day-to-day routines and focus on helping people find enjoyable ways of being active. It kind of implies they agree that being sedentary is just not good for you. And you have to find a way to exercise or increase activity levels in a way that works for you, which is kind of exactly what everybody used to do. And every personal trainer and every coach always used to say. I agree that a lot of people now seem to think that doing half an hour Joe Wicks every day is the only way to do it. But it used to be that, and I've written about this a lot before, that if you did a Zumba class 7 days a week, we all agree that that would be better for you than the one HIIT class once a week that you absolutely hated. So do what you can, do what you enjoy doing, and up your activity levels. Essentially, what the authors seem to the conclusion that they come to is when people move more and eat better, they will be healthier. Of course, I think everybody agrees on that, right? When people move more and eat better, they will be healthier. Eating better, I don't just mean eating spinach and kale, by the way. I mean eating for what your body wants, which is what intuitive eating used to be about. But it was never about you being able to have all the donuts in the world, right? Or just having a second donut and a third and a fourth. No, intuitive eating was using your intuition. And that kind of leads to then you looking for whole foods and healthy foods with the occasional treat type food. Then, you add joyful movement throughout the day, or, you move more throughout the day. Now, for some people, when you're on the heavier side of obese, this will automatically lead to weight loss, right? That is how it goes. The authors of the study cite 4 papers that say exactly that. And you will likely, to be fair, gain weight if you're underweight, right? You'll end up within the normal healthy range for you. So I'm not talking about BMI levels of range, and neither do the authors. They're talking about what is healthy for you. Now, for you, carrying an extra 40 kg of fat is probably not healthy, and therefore, if you use intuitive eating properly and you move enough, that weight is likely to come off. That's what the authors argue. Now, health at every side is according to this to this paper, that is what the focus should be. So when you're entering a doctor's room, they say you shouldn't necessarily ask about weight. You should, how are you doing? How are you moving about? How are you eating? Is your diet a healthy diet? Are there any issues? Are there any mental health issues associated with it? All that sort of stuff. And I think that all makes sense. Now, one or two of the things where the authors kind of are incorrect, and or at least they contradict themselves a little bit, is one of the statements in the recommendations to say interventions should accurately convey the limited impact that lifestyle behaviors have on overall health conditions, on overall health outcomes, sorry. Which the entire paper actually completely dismisses that. The complete paper says lifestyle behaviors, diet, sleep, stress levels, moving better, has a tremendous impact on overall health outcomes. Lifestyle behaviors, depending on whether you include being in a healthy job or an unhealthy job, is also part of that. Sure, there are issues if you're from a poorer background, socioeconomic background, less educated, especially when it comes to things like diet and all that sort of stuff, that you might not be able to directly do something about, or at least it directly has a tremendous impact on your health there and then. But it doesn't mean those situations can't be improved upon. For some they can't, admittedly, but then you can still do the best you can. That will have a tremendous impact on lifestyle behavior, on your health outcomes, because that's what all the papers they cite says. So those are my 5 talking points. Basically, intuitive eating, health exercise, and happy movement and all that is eat normal in the way that we used to, right? Don't eat too much. Don't overconsume just because it's there. Eat well, eat whole foods, cook for yourself and all that sort of thing. You can lose weight steady, and that's fine. It'll stay off. You don't have to. I'm not telling anyone they should. I'm saying it's possible, and the authors don't argue any differently. Keep moving. Stop being sedentary. And again, the weight will come off, or the weight will come on if you're underweight. We'll add on a little bit of weight if you're underweight. And that is pretty much all they're arguing in this paper. So I'm not sure where it is healthy to be 40 kg overweight, and this paper proves it comes from. The authors never argue this. There's no study in here that says anything other than that. They say treat people with respect, but I would like to think that would be obvious. And I was rather surprised to find certain people, apparently this came as a shock to certain people, that they had to start treating everybody with respect. It is just one of those things that a paper like this does the rounds, and it's been doing the rounds for about 10 years now, I think, because it's about 2011, I think, that this was written. And people tend to, these claims take on a life of their own, because nobody spends an entire week going for every single citation that they make in the paper to see what it actually means. The authors of this paper have never specified what they mean really by weight loss, and they never specify what they mean by health at every size and all that sort of stuff, or what limitations there are to weight ranges and all that sort of stuff, and they probably should have done, which is where a lot of the confusion comes from. Anyways, that's it. Too long, didn't read. For what is it? This is now the 9th. So this was a podcast for the 2nd of Feb. The full podcast will be up on YouTube on Friday. New podcast episodes every Sunday at 6 p.m. UK time. Subscribe, like, do whatever you need to do. And thank you very much for watching. This is the first, so apparently, apologies if the sound quality is terrible and the filter, the background, and all the sorts of looks all. I'm trying to fix all this sort of stuff, but you don't want to see my spare room and the white walls and animals running around everywhere as I'm trying to record this. Anyways, you have a tremendous week, and hopefully you'll check out the full episode on Friday. Hit like and subscribe. Do me a solid, right? Cheers. Bye now.